Hello everybody, this is Kevin from Klotz Productions, and today this video is going to be a deck tech of the deck that I used at the PTQ in Louisville, Kentucky. This is Grixis Control. I went 5-3 with it, finished 29th out of 141, and I know that some of you have asked for requests on help for your Grixis deck, so maybe you all can get something from this video. We'll go ahead and jump in. The first cards I have on here are 3 Jace and a Liliana Vess. This deck was actually the basis for it was I actually took a deck from online and then tweaked it to my liking, but the original one had 3 of the new Jace in their deck, the Mind Sculptor, but I can't afford them and don't have them, and I figured they're just for card drawing anyway, so the old Jace I figured would work, plus he cost 1 less to play. Obviously the new Jace can do a lot more things, but for my purposes I had to go with the old one. Liliana is kind of used as a fetch, mostly going to be used for fetching up specific cards that I need, like an Earthquake for a win, or a Cruel Ultimatum if I have it, or a Sphinx if I need the creature. Sometimes I'd use her discard, but it's usually for a fetch. Spreading Seas, around 4 Spreading Seas. This is used more of a draw card than anything, because of the fact that it replaces itself, but it can also be used to, its most common use is to set people off their lands in the early game. It's usually my turn 2 play if I have it. Depending on the deck, sometimes I'll be holding the negates, and it depends on if I'm on the play or the draw. It makes a difference, but if I feel like I can shut them off of one color, then I'll try to do that with the Spreading Seas. Like I said, I have negate, 2 negates in here. These are just kind of, they're negates, they're just kind of universal for what they do. I'm not exactly sure their key purpose or their key reason of being in there, but they stop things like lightnings and the ley lines, like the white ley line, stuff like that, assuming they don't have it in their opening hand. 3 Blightning. These are just used as Blightnings are used for card advantage and sometimes for some direct damage, but to help get rid of their hand. 3 Lightning Bolts and 2 Earthquakes. Bolts are good for removal for little guys early on, or even a little bit bigger guys in the mid game, and in the late game they can be used for finishers. Earthquake can be used as a finisher, also to take out as a board sweeper for a bunch of mana dorks and green decks. Terminate, run 3 Terminate. These are just your basic creature removal, deals with the big creatures like Baneslayers or Titans that have to be getting rid of. And then 2 Cruel Ultimatum. Can't have a Grixis deck without Cruel Ultimatum. These do a lot and obviously can turn games around for if you can cast them. Getting into the creatures, I have 4 Jedruszek Spectre. If you haven't played with Jedruszek Spectre, it's actually a really good card because of the fact that it has Unearth. If you play it and they don't deal with it immediately, then they're going to start losing cards, and even if they do kill it, then you can still unearth it to get rid of a second card, so it's still a 2 for 1 unless they exile it, and typically the only way they're going to do that is with a path, which is going to get you a land anyway and accelerate you to your bigger spells. So good creature. I have 3 Sphinx of Dwara Isle. The original deck actually had 2 Siege Gang Commanders and a Gatekeeper of Malachor, but I don't have the Siege Gangs, and I like the Sphinx for its Shroud ability and ability to look at your top card to determine if you want to crack a fetch to shuffle or not. So I prefer using the Sphinxes. 4 Goblin Rune Blaster. These are for taking out their lands, kind of setting off their lands with the Spreading Seas. Also good against Valakut decks. There's a lot of ramp Valakut decks right now with the Titans, red-green decks. So this can these take care of your Valakuts. They also give you little blockers if you need them. Then moving on to the sideboard, I have 1 Kozilek Butcher of Truth. May have said that wrong, but and the main reason he's in there is for if I play against a mill deck, because he will shuffle himself back into the library whenever he hits the graveyard, and that's going to make it a lot more difficult for mill decks to finish you off. I have 2 Mind Control. These are used for mainly Titan decks. People cast their Titans, I can take them from them and use them against them. 2 Calcite Snapper. These are against red deck wins to help me block most of their guys and stay alive in the early game. I haven't decided. There's actually tweaks I want to make on the sideboard. Red deck wins is a rough match. I feel like I should probably have 4 of something. I'm thinking about using, I think it's Wall of Frost, the one that keeps their guy tapped down when they attack, because even though this one has Shroud and can attack, the purpose of it is to stay alive in the early game, and the 0-7 wall seems like it could do that a lot better. I have 2 more negates in the sideboard. I can bring these in against control or planeswalker decks. I have 2 consuming vapors. These are for control decks also, but yeah, mostly for control decks. However, I did bring them in against some Vengevine decks because I don't have what I would like to have in the sideboard, which is Thought Hemorrhage. But I did actually end up killing 2 like 6/6 Knight of the Reliquaries with 1 consuming vapors and getting 12 life off of it. So that was really good for that. I did seem to bring them in a lot. Inquisition of Kozilek. This is used kind of for Vengevine decks as well, because you can take out their little creatures that like their Fauna Shamans or their Mana Dorks early on, so they can't get into their bigger stuff. And it can also be used against red deck wins to take their cards out of their hands, but may not be the best solution for red deck wins in the later game. And then I have 3 Vampire Hexmage, which is used for planeswalkers. But I actually didn't run into any super friends at the PTQ, so those never came in. For the lands, I have 4 Crumbling Necropolis, 2 Lava Claw Reaches, and 2 Creeping Tar Pits. Those are my man lands. 3 Drowned Catacombs, 4 Dragon Skull Summit. I'd like to mention that the original deck had 4 Drowned Catacombs and 3 Dragon Skull Summits, but these are the lands I had, so I figured I'd just swap them out, and it seemed to be okay. 4 Scalding Tarns, and then 2 Mountains, 3 Swamps, and 2 Islands, which is your Grixis casting cost. And I assume that is so that when it comes time to cast the Grixis, if you have a fetch in your hand, you can be sure that you've got, or it comes time to cast the Cruel Ultimatum, if you have the fetches in your hand, then you can be sure that you're going to have the right lands to play it. One problem I did notice with the land base is that there's so many comes into play tapped lands. There were a few times when I got set back because I'd have a hand of like 3 comes into play tapped lands for my first 3 turns and wasn't able to play as fast as I wanted to. The last thing I'd like to mention is about my sideboard. I don't think it's nearly as powerful as it could be right now. My weaknesses I feel like are red deck wins, which I'm going to need to figure out what I'm going to do against that. And then Vengevine decks, I lost 2. 2 of the 3 matches I lost were Vengevine decks, and I feel like I'm going to put some Thought Hemorrhage in here to get rid of those Vengevines. Earthquake's also really good against those decks, but I feel like I need Thought Hemorrhage for that. I need something for red deck wins, and then I want to play double negative because there's still a lot of Bloodbraid Elves floating around in Jung and in the Vengevine decks, but I'm not sure if I'm going to play it main or sideboard. So that's the deck. That's where I am right now. If you all have any suggestions to make it better and to help tweak the sideboard and help make my matches better, then let me know. I'm probably going to be playing this at Worldweight Game Day, and I have some footage from the PTQ that I'll be putting up later as well. See y'all later.